Mollie, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with me.
Thanks for having me.
It's very very cool. I started hearing about you more and more over the last kind of 8 to 10 months. I think we both were you at Fit Expos England's, weren't you?
Yeah,
But
this year
you were there. Were you there competing? Were you there as a coach?
I was limping around, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was supposed to compete, but I got injured right before it. So yeah, I went to coach, which was amazing. And
Yeah,
then
I think I saw you there, and I was like, oh, it's an absolute shame that you weren't competing because I was very excited. But thankfully we've come back around and you're in much better health now and absolutely tearing up the scene once again. So I mean it's awesome to see you've come on like absolute leaps and bounds over the last few years. It's so sick. It's really really cool and very inspiring. Like I love these stories of athletes kind of because you've been competing for quite a while in terms of like in the grand scheme of things. Obviously COVID got in the way, but athletes that are kind of like bubbling away at a really good level, and then you just find that something's clicked and to the moon. Like it's sick, and you've gone from strength to strength, and it's very very cool. But I'm always interested to find out when I get to speak to incredible athletes such as yourself, kind of a little bit about kind of where their journey began and the kind of foundations for what you have today, because of course everyone's so different, everyone's body types are so different, everyone's backgrounds are so different, and it's very very interesting for me to find out all those like key elements. So were you quite sporty growing up? Have you always been quite an active person, or is that something that you found later on in life?
no, I have been. I've always had horses, so obviously that's like quite an active pastime. You have to be strong, just for like the care of them, and obviously riding as well. So I would say, yeah, I've always been like active. I hated PE at school. I don't know if that was more about like being told what to do than absolutely hated it. I was the kids hiding, having a cheeky smoke while everyone else was doing cross country. Absolutely hated PE. Never really got into like team sports and stuff. Just yeah, never like that. But always had my horses. So I actually managed to do GCSE PE without doing like school PE. I just did riding. So I managed to like film my riding and managed to get a GCSE PE with just doing horses really, which was cool. So yeah. And then but no, I was never like a gym goer, like never. I was more like, yeah, I did all that. Did a bit of running for a while, did a mountain marathon. Hated it. So it was absolutely disgusting. So then, yeah, sort of got back into gym and found that actually strength training was more my bag. Just found it a lot more fun.
Yeah. So, when kind of working with horses and stuff, was this just like general care? Were you looking after other people's horses? Were you racing? Was it like dressage stuff? What kind of?
Um, More, yeah, like dressage, showing. I'd had my own yard for a bit, so yeah, I was looking after like five other people's horses. So I had that as like a job for a bit. Um, and then yeah, just had my always had my own and competed on my own. So I did a bit of everything really, dressage, eventing. Um,
Yeah, but kind of like you're saying, I think people sleep on kind of the functional strength you have to be able to do that job in terms of the stuff that you've got to move about and how, like you said, how long you're doing it for every day. It's kind of I feel like it's almost on par with I speak to like a quite a lot of like guys and whatever you find that like scaffolders or something, and you're like it's the same stuff. You're moving heavy shit all day long. You're in like these stress positions, and your body just gets conditioned to it to such a ridiculous level. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Your moving events are absolutely incredible. Like your like floor to overhead, like all the like where you have to have very very strong trunk strength. It's all clicking into place. I get it now, 100%.
yeah, you do definitely have to have that baseline, and like you say, it's the repetitiveness, the all day every dayness, isn't it? Rather than an hour in the gym, it's yeah, it's all day. However, I was terrible at overhead before I started training it. I was absolutely shocking. It was my big like week event, I guess. It's something that I've had to like specifically focus on and work on and get better at. Yeah, I was a terrible presser. and I actually did a weightlifting like block, if you want to call it that, with Sarah Davis, the Olympic weightlifter, during COVID. So it was like delivered online, and I just
Oh, sick.
trained that. So that's I would credit that for getting my overhead to be
Because
decent.
I'm right in saying that kind of back, oh, I want to say it's like what, 2017, 2016, something like that. You were doing like powerlifting, and you did an Olympic weightlifting comp as well, didn't you? Like that, and it was all like in the same year, wasn't it? I remember seeing it and I was like, damn, this lady's going through a hell of a lot of different lifting patterns here. This is incredible. So yeah, and at a high standard as well, wasn't it? Wasn't it like nationals?
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, they're just shrugging it off. Yeah.
It was all right. Yeah, so I started out with Strongwoman, competing in Strongwoman, and then I got a little bit fed up with it, a bit like, I think back then, so we're talking like, yeah, 2016. So going back a bit, it was very niche. I mean, it's still niche, but it's grown so much over the past few years, which is amazing. So because of how niche it was then, the tested, untested side of things, it kind of bothered me then. It doesn't now at all, because I think if that's a decision everyone makes, and if you're gonna if you want to be the best, then you've got to compete against the best, and that's only going to make you a better athlete. So actually, it doesn't bother me now. But back then, I got a bit fed up with it. So that's why I went to powerlifting and eventually weightlifting, just because it's more drug tested. But actually, I've come full circle now and realised that strongman's the one for me. But obviously, weightlifting has played a massive part in, as I say, helping with my overhead, and not just overhead. I think stone loading and all sorts of strongman events massively benefit from doing that time with weightlifting. Definitely.
Yeah, and especially like with the Ollie stuff, like the amount of stuff that gets drilled into you with that triple extension, just training that triple extension over and over again. Like when you come around to stones and you can see it, that roll, you get it so high up off the chest with your stone loading, you're like, that you can almost feel the hundreds of hours of being in like that power snatch position, and you're just like, oh, it's like PTSD.
Yeah, it's definitely got a place, and I think it's a good way of explaining it to people who maybe come from like a CrossFit or a weightlifting background, coming into like starting to load out the stone. It's like, well, you can already do it. Just it's a snatch. It's like you say, it's triple extension. So yeah, it's super helpful as a coach if people have got that foundation. But I definitely find it helps me, like if I'm figuring out a stone load or something, think, right, come on, it's weightlifting. It's not. I think it can be easy to think of it as like a deadlift into a front squat, but I think if you think of it more of a clean, I find that definitely helpful.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. That's how I like to cue things for myself personally. With a lot of people that I train, they haven't got that foundation in Olympic lifting, unfortunately. So, like you say, you kind of have to change the cues up a little bit. But yeah, in terms of that triple extension, my God, the change it makes in terms of how high you can get that stone. I mean, I'm a 6'8" guy. I don't really need to worry about getting it too high. You know what I mean? On a top platform, I'm still at basic hip height. It's going to be all right for me, but for sure, people, obviously, it's a hell of a lot harder. But so I'm really interested to know then. So, did you develop your split jerk with your log and axle before you went into Ollie lifting, or as a result of Olympic lifting?
As a result of definitely. Affected it. Yeah, so kind of my aim during COVID, I'd already decided that I wanted to compete in Strongwoman, but my aim with that block was to do weightlifting for strongman, if that makes sense. So it was like, I didn't go to Sarah and say, look, I want to compete in weightlifting. It was like, I want to improve my overhead event, any overhead event, and it was like, how we could program the weightlifting into log, dumbbell, axle.
Yeah, I mean the transfer I think is absolutely fantastic, and I think you're seeing. I think you've seen. I mean, my exposure to Strongwoman, I mean, again, was a little bit delayed in terms of how long I was kind of interested in strongman because obviously it just wasn't as big at the time. Unfortunately, like you said, back then it was very, very, very niche. But with a lot of the guys, you saw that traditional big kind of power belly, statically strong. They were not really dynamic in any sense of the word. It was just ridiculous brute strength. And now you've really seen it with the athleticism and how the guys are kind of much lighter. You're getting a lot more of these like Rob Kearney coming in, split jerking, and everyone being like, what the fuck? And all the women are like, we've been doing this for years. It's the only way we can really functionally get it up with a lot of dynamic power. Like we don't have the same weight behind us, and it's absolutely fascinating. So, did you find that was like, was that your like aha moment where you like finally got back underneath the log and you're like, let me try this out? Oh shit! Like that went up so much easier.
Yeah, definitely. I think particularly with a log, it's one of the harder things to split jerk. It's
Really hard. If you haven't tried it before, I mean, get a light log, but just try the pattern because it's horrific.
yeah, it's tough, and I think like the way I would coach it is to get someone pretty proficient on a barbell split jerking before trying to do it on a log, because yeah, it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? You're looking at the ceiling, everything's all over the place. So yeah, it definitely clicked and made it easier, but like you're just improving all the time, aren't you? Particularly with something so technical. It's yeah, it did click, but I think I'm still kind of doing my homework in the way of doing my jerks from the blocks, jerk dips, trying to make everything. And if you can tell when you've not done that, because then it's like, oh, my log's terrible. Why? And it's that foundation really, which I think is an ongoing process, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that I think that's testament to you as an athlete and you as a coach that you're introspective enough to be like, look, I obviously I'm good enough to compete at the elite level, but I know that there's more in there. And actually, if I work on my foundations that I know work for me, then I'm only going to get better from there. And I completely agree. It's very intelligent lifting to do that and do your work from the blocks and bits and pieces and taking out little things like the stresses from the cleans and going through those movement patterns that might be a little bit more exposing you to the potential of injury and being like, look, I know I can hammer it from this position. I know I can get my volume in. I know I can grease that groove so it feels like second nature. So then when I get underneath these heavy logs under bright lights with lots of people watching me, it's just autonomous. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? And I think that's the thing that's really nice about watching you compete and watching you lift is that every rep is just like a fucking copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. And that's a cue that I love to use with all of my clients. And it's like when someone makes it look effortless and can mimic that every single time, I think that is the true testament to someone that's really fucking put the hours into greasing that groove, because you just can't make it look like that otherwise.
No, it's yeah, I mean, people spend a lifetime learning weightlifting, don't they? It's just it is so technical, and there's so many like minor adjustments you can make that make it so much better, which is super satisfying, but also super frustrating. If you start one day and you're like, why is this not going up? And it can be just millimeters, can't it? So yeah, it's definitely something worth practicing, worth drilling a lot.
Yeah, it's so technical, so technical. I think it's that whole thing. It's like if you have the ability to master that, the transfer you have into your strongman, your strongwoman is going to be exponential, and especially when you're at the top like you are. And I've spoken to Rhiannon about this, I've spoken to Andrea about this, and whatever. It's it's fractions when you're at that top level. Those top 3 positions, top 5 positions, it's literally like 0.5 of a difference. And if you in your off season can make 0.5 to 1% increase on what you did the year previous, that is enough for you to go and have an absolutely extraordinary season. And it just gets harder year and year because you get stronger and that potential grows narrower and narrower, and everyone else is coming from the woodworks. So you've got to be thinking about this stuff if you want to be sustaining that career at the top level like you are. So I absolutely love to see it, and I think more and more people should kind of be taking inspiration from that and thinking about maybe in now, like in the off season where people have a little bit of time, start learning to Olympic lift and do shit like that, because it's going to really help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I just wanted to kind of quickly kind of go back and kind of touch upon the injury side of things. Now, I know obviously you had the injury at England's, but was this the same injury that you sustained back in like 2017, 2016 when you were competing back then? Is this a reoccurring thing for you?
No, no, this was just a bit of pilot error really on my part. I fancied a big deadlift, and I felt great. Like it was deadlift, suited deadlift for reps at England. So I've been really training my deadlift for reps. And there was a nice round number that I fancied ticking off before England's. It was stupid. Like if a client had said to me, "Let's max my deadlift 9 days out," I would have said, "Don't be so stupid."
It was 9 days out.
9 days out. And I was so ready, and everything was looking so good. And yeah, it was just stupid, and it's not something I've experienced before. Like I've obviously had like random little niggles in the past, and broke my wrist, which was just a random, just random things. But
Yeah.
I've never had like a proper injury, I would say. It was not great. So it was maxing suited deadlift basically, and it went. I missed the lift and couldn't weight bear really for the next sort of 12 hours. Like it was nasty. But yeah, it sort of had various physio, and it's just been something that's just needed time, and nothing really, just an injury, nothing that I can really say. It was just too much and really bad timing.
Yeah.
A lot of time to heal, and really only in the last couple of weeks is I've been able to push my deadlift, push my out of stones, to a point where my strength is failing rather than I'm getting pain. So that's a really nice place to be in now, and hopefully that will continue. But yeah, so I mean that was what, June, end of June. It's been a long time. So hopefully that's that. But yeah, it's just one of them random things which it happens and you learn. I won't be maxing my deadlift 9 days out ever again.
It's a learning process. That's exactly it. That's all you can think about. That's all you can take away from it. It's a learning process, and fundamentally, you have had to go back. At least it wasn't to square one. That's a massive silver lining. And the fact, I think, that we can kind of touch upon, that you had to go back and again continue to work upon that foundation that has only gone to prove that if you work on that shit for long enough, you don't have to be doing crazy ridiculous numbers to be working on your foundation with this like rehab prehab work. For you to then come into the Arnold and absolutely fucking dominate that, it's like, this is testament. You don't have to be lifting crazy all of the time. You don't have to be lifting heavy all of the time. If you're actually devoting enough time to the shit that matters, not all of the other fluff, but the stuff that really makes a difference, then you can still do incredible things without having to, risk that injury. Yes, you do need to get your body conditioned under load. Yes, there is a time and a place for heavy lifting, but I mean, you proved it on literally a world stage that you can come back from injury, not have the opportunity to be maxing out coming into it and being like, well, let's see what we got in there today. And
it was a bit of a strange place coming into the European Arnold, because it was like I didn't know where my deadlift was because I'd not been able to really train it or push it, and it was so it was strapless axle deadlift, so it wasn't but that, because it was like basically a grip event, it wasn't heavy like you would expect. A deadlift for reps where it was a normal, you'd have straps, it would have been a lot heavier, which would have been bad for me because I wasn't in a place where I could deadlift heavy. But because it was essentially a grip event, it wasn't that heavy, so it was a good deadlift event if there was going to be a deadlift event, it was a better one to have. So that was good. But yeah, I didn't know where, because normally you'd be like, right, I'm shooting for 10, I'm shooting for 5. Like, I had no idea. I just thought I'm going to be last in the deadlift event. Like, I'm going to give it everything. But, the other girls are really good. So I just accepted I would be coming last in that event.
Did you have a chance to, like, where were you in the running order? Did you place relatively high up in the event previous? Like, did you have an opportunity to kind of get ballpark figures of being like, oh, okay, I know that they've got this amount of reps and they've got this amount of reps, etc.
Yeah, I think it was such a fast-paced comp. Like, I've never done a comp like it. It was over and done within like 2 hours, including, like, you had 7 minutes to warm up for each event.
What?
They put the kit out, like, say it was dumbbell, they put the dumbbells out, they started a timer and they said, right, girls, you've got 7 minutes, and then we're going. And that was all weight classes, everybody. 7 minutes on the kit. So the whole thing was mental. Like, it was literally like you were getting your breath back from your event and you had to warm up your next. It was so, which I love, by the way. Like, I don't like event comps when they drag out.
Yeah.
Because it's just painful. But yeah, it was so fast paced. So it was like, I didn't really, normally you kind of know where you are, you can work out points, you've got time, haven't you? But there was just no time, and I didn't really know where I was overall. I'd won, I think dumbbell was the 4th event, so I think I'd won the previous event.
Yeah.
I wasn't first out on the deadlift, so I think I knew
Roughly.
The other girls, apart from the girl that was out at the same time as me, I knew what they'd got. So yeah, there was
it's a bit of a safety net, isn't it? But still, I mean, if you don't know where it's at, it's either a safety net or it's like, oh shit, I've got to beat that now.
Yeah, and I, like, genuinely, because of where I was in my, like, injury rehab, I didn't know if I could do 5 or 12. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had no idea really. So it was like, okay, let's just try.
I mean, but it's interesting that you say about the fast-paced nature of the comp, because I have always thought it's very, very interesting, and I feel like different comp structures really favor different athletes, like, massively. Like, it's a massive spectrum. But for like fitter athletes, having a really quick comp actually favors you so much. Like, if you have that ability to bring that rest and heart rate down and actually calm down and chill out in between events really, really quickly, and you have that fitness, I feel like you have a massive leg up, because where you're like, okay, I'm not 100% fresh, but I do this shit week in, week out. I do this work capacity all the time. I know my body can handle this. Where you've got the people that don't train that have those big long rest sets and they chill out and they're just, and you're like, okay, I know you're going to be going throughout the comp.
Yeah, definitely. And we often joke in the gym and say, like, a comp day is a rest day, because you're only doing 1 set for 5 events. Like, we normally do like 8 sets, so it's like, oh, 1 set's great. Like, this is fine. And I said, like, obviously with what's going on at OSG currently, it's all been a little bit switched around, and it's going to be 4 events tomorrow for them. So I actually said to one of my athletes, this is fine. Like, 4 events is still nothing. Like, I know it's not what you expected, but you're fit, like you say, you've got that fitness. This is how you train. You train, 4 events, but do like 8 sets on each one. Like, it's what we're used to. So yeah, that's fine. And like a fast-paced comp, I definitely prefer. Like, I think it's really hard mentally to get psyched and then sit down for 2 hours and then get psyched again, like 5 times. I think that's really tough. I would rather just stay at that level and just keep going.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I think it like I've found before. I mean, when I compete, I feel like I'm always on, and I have to really bring myself back down in between events. Like, naturally, it's like as soon as I step over that line, like, it's game time, and my body just knows what's up. But when you have those comps, like you say, where you're waiting like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and your body's like, let's go, and you're just doing everything in your power to just like zen out, but your heart rate is just like it's so fucking tough.
Exhausting. Absolutely exhausted.
So in terms of kind of coming into Strongwoman, competing at the level that you are now, Have you found that you started out doing lots of competitions and that you are now narrowing the field to very, very specific competitions? Have you always been someone that's very selective with the comps that they choose? Or do you still just like to hammer out comps throughout the year? Where are you at?
So I think I probably used to do more. So obviously pre-child, I had a lot more time, and a lot more, like, you know, to me a comp's a day out, like it's fun,
Yeah.
it's a good laugh, you're out with your mates, and obviously there's more scope for doing days out before you've got kids, so it was, yeah, probably before we had a little girl, I would maybe do more, and I think, you know, earlier in your career it's good to sort of gather experience, and there's things that you learn at competitions that you just can't learn in the gym. Like there's things that happen, things that change, like these experiences are so valuable. So I would never, like, you know, sometimes clients say, oh, is it okay if I do this extra comp? And like, yeah, absolutely, like go for it, do them, do as many as you want, because I just think you just learn so much. I mean, now time is kind of short, so I do pick and choose, and kind of prioritize which comps I want to do throughout the year, because yeah, you know, weekends are busy, so it you know, just purely for that reason, I work weekends quite often, so it's, you know, it's not, I don't have the time really to be doing loads, so yeah, I sort of prioritize the, ideally the UK pathway if I hadn't got injured, and then yeah, see what happens really.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. So, in terms of like with qualifiers and bits and pieces like that, obviously you have a fair bit of time before you actually have to submit qualifications and entries and bits and pieces. Do you find yourself a kind of with your programming really working into a lot of comp specific or qualifying specific stuff, or is there lots of stuff that you just kind of keep in there all year round? Like how niche are you with those particular kind of implements and bits and pieces in regards to approaching a qualifier or a competition?
It's interesting, isn't it? I think this is something that people approach quite differently. Like
Yeah.
the way I like to do it. So like right now, I don't. My qualifiers are in March. We've got the events, but I wouldn't be specifically training those right now. I'm doing like a series of kind of 4-week blocks that train various events. So I'm training. You know, if you think how many 4-week blocks you can do between September and March, it's going to be loads. So I'll get through a lot of events that are likely to come up in the season. So I'm kind of always training events. I know some people go right back to just doing, you know, squat, bench press, or squat, deadlift press, sorry, and not doing many events. I kind of always train events, but they're not like specific to upcoming comps. So like today I've trained dumbbell, farmers, stone, because I think my farmers are kind of maybe lagging slightly, so I want to keep them in, train them a lot in my season. Stone as well. Don't think I'm that good at stone, so I've kept stone in, and then my overhead events, I just love training them all. So I'm training like doing barbell, axle, log, and dumbbell at the moment. So, you know, not all heavy, but
Yeah.
all in. You know, today I just did light dumbbell, so they're all in there. They're all skill practice, and I think if I'm going to be pressing all winter, I might as well be pressing things that probably are going to come up in a comp. Like there's kind of, from my point of view, like I don't really see why I would train bench rather than log, because bench isn't going to be in a competition, log it is. They're both going to get me a stronger press, but I might as well be working on my log skill at the same time as getting a stronger press, rather than benching, which, yeah, it might get a bit stronger, but you know, the skill of benching, I'm not going to go and do a powerlifting competition. So for me, I think, well, I might as well do my pressing that is specific to my sport, and I'm very lucky to train full time in a strongman gym, so all the kit's there. So I might as well use it. You know, if I'm gonna do cardio, it might as well be a moving event. If I'm gonna press, it might as well be a log. You do know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna do some loading, it might as well be stones. I might as well be working on that skill at the same time as getting stronger and keeping that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think you can, like, you can't compensate for more time under an implement. If you have person A that has all the same strength, power, and ability as person B, but person A has spent 500 hours doing log and person B has spent 5 hours doing log, 500 hours will fucking win every single goddamn time, because again, that skill acquisition is so specific and you will nail everything from the lap to the clean to the rack position to the dip to everything, and it's just crystal. So yeah, I completely agree with that. And I don't know, you might agree, you might not. I find that especially like with these like online qualifiers and what have you, where sometimes they're just chucking in like slightly not kind of the core lifts that you would see in strongman, where you have these people that are training, you know, 16 weeks plus for these specific qualifiers. They're qualifying and then they're getting through, and then they have to do all these other fucking events that are completely unassociated, and their body's like, but we've been training for this for 16 weeks, but we can't do this now. And you're like, you're not meant to be training for qualifiers. You're meant to be training for the final and have the ability to compete in the qualifiers. I don't know. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's got to be, I guess there's got to be a bit of a line where you kind of train it. I think training a broad base of events at kind of off-season time, so that you've got that skill. And then, yeah, getting a little bit more specific into your qualifier, but yeah, still keeping like a fairly broad base. So you might have, like, the online qualifiers have only been 2 events.
Yeah.
So they've not been like loads of events. So yeah, definitely not just training those 3. Definitely still keeping the broad base, and also not getting too specific too soon. I think keeping that mixture in until pretty close. And I think that kind of depends on how seasoned you are as an athlete, how long you've been doing it. Say you've got
Agreed
log and farmers coming up in a competition, you know, if you're already pretty good at them, you don't need to be training them for 16 weeks really specific to that comp. Like, if you've already got that skill, you know, a couple of weeks, you know, 4-week block in, you're going to be fine. You're going to perfect that skill, and you can specify whether it's going to be heavy log, max log, log for reps, log from the check. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can make that specific. But if you're already pretty good at log, you don't need to be, you know, just training that and not doing anything else for 16 weeks. I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. You need to have other skills, because that's not your last comp, is it? That's just a step.
Exactly. I think that's exactly it. It's keeping your options open, because that isn't your be all and end all. And if you're getting your body conditioned for that very, very specifically, it's not actually going to benefit you as an athlete in the long term. Because again, working on those things, you're going to draw away focus from other things and other potential strengths and what have you that might come up in the comp and have a higher likelihood. So I completely agree with that. So in regards to kind of coaching, did you kind of fall into coaching around the same time that you fell into competing in strongman? Was that something you were doing beforehand? Kind of how long have you been kind of working with that?
Not that long, to be honest. So I've done bits and bobs of coaching.
Yeah.
But so I'm a nurse, so I actually work outside of the sport, as that's been my main job for like forever, really. So I've only really specified in coaching maybe 18 months a year, something like that. So yeah, I would say I'm still nursing, but I'm coaching, so it's more 50-50 now, whereas it had been like, no, I'm a nurse, and then, you know, I
do a bit of coaching.
Yeah, but I've started taking it more seriously now, and I think, you know, the sport growing, particularly for women, has kind of made me think, actually, maybe I do have things to say to people that might be helpful, and particularly, you know, using the online delivery is amazing, because, you know, the sport's too niche to rely on people coming to our gym weeklies, because there just isn't that many people within commuting distance. So having the online platform's amazing, to get that reach for people in the country and outside the country as well. Like, I think it's brilliant, and it means that you can reach the right people that the experience that I've had over the last few years might help people going through the same thing, doing the UK pathway and doing the same sort of.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. I think, the fact that you have time in the trenches is going to be testament to the fact that you can deliver very, very useful information to all these girls. And again, it's kind of proven in the results that you're getting. I know of several girls that you coach that have done incredibly well and placed relatively high up, compared to their previous ceilings and standings and stuff. And it's like, the path of success usually leaves a trail, and it's like you don't have to just try and reinvent the wheel every single fucking time. You're like, if I know this works and I've experienced its progression and I know the potential, why don't I do that with someone else? Why don't I give someone else that valuable information? And I completely agree with what you said there. Like, I think, the fact that you've been through this, you've had those learning experiences, you've gone through this, and you understand what it feels like. You can empathize with these ladies more than anyone else. And I think, that then proves a very strong bond between you and the client, because they're like, I have complete faith because I know that she's done this. I know she's experienced this. I know she knows what this feels like. And I know she knows how I'm feeling right now. And I think that's something that's so valuable as a coach. I mean, you could probably speak on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think it has to be a good fit, doesn't it? I think, some of the clients I've got that being super successful, I feel like we're a good fit for each other. And it's understanding where they are in that kind of trail, in that pathway to their competitions, and in life as well. Like, I say all the time, like, we're not full-time athletes, unfortunately. We're just not. Like, there's life stuff. People have other sports, jobs, found, like, it's all that as well. And I think that helps with a fit for an athlete and a coach, if you kind of get that side of things, because like, you could deliver a program that, if someone had 3 hours every day to train, do rehab, do all this, then that'd probably be great. But that's not really life for anybody that I coach, or myself, unfortunately. So I think having that fit and that understanding is helpful.
Yeah, 100%. So in regards to some of these ladies that they're doing incredibly well and they're smashing it, I feel like you're not particularly far off from a point where they're potentially going to be going into same qualifiers that you are. And how do you feel around that? And how do you handle that as a coach? Because I know it can be quite difficult. I've spoken to Rhiannon about this before, and I've spoken to various other females, and it's like, how does that work? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, does that stress you out?
Yeah, it hasn't actually happened yet. So I was supposed to go head to head with a client at England's, but obviously got injured, so it hasn't actually come up. But the way I was feeling going into it was like, if anyone was going to beat me, I wanted it to be her. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Okay, yeah.
Her wins were like my wins in a way, because we've got there together. So like, seeing clients have victory and wins or placings, where successful placings, kind of gives you that buzz. Well, for me, it gave me that buzz that I do for succeeding myself. So it was kind of felt the same, but I haven't actually been in that position yet, because other clients that I've got are in different weight categories. So so I'm not being there in reality yet, but that's how it felt going into it. I sort of was like,
do you think, like, it would make you feel like more nervous? Because it's that whole thing, isn't it? It's like, if you're going up against your coach, you're like, as the coach, you're like, I've really got to put in a fucking good show here.
It's a bit embarrassing if they beat you in a way. No, it's a bit embarrassing as an athlete, but then it's kind of,
it's testament to you as a coach. It's kind of like you win or you lose regardless, you know what I mean?
maybe I'd be a better coach than my coach if that happened. Yeah, it's a strange head game, isn't it? Really strange.
So
Yeah, I might have to get back to you on that one when it actually occurs.
yeah. I'm just stressing that. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. She's gonna beat me.
But it's cool because I think it's a really cool dynamic, and I really like it because I think it forces you both to level up.
Yeah.
Because you're as a coach, you're like, I want to make sure, like in your head, you're like, obviously I want to come first. But like I always want it to be like me and my clients in the top 3. I always want that. That would be so sick. But it's like I really want to make sure that I'm not in 3rd place on the podium.
Yeah, it's mad. Like, you obviously want them, but then I think the better you make them, the better you're gonna make yourself, because you're just gonna push more, aren't you? Like, you're just gonna, people that I don't coach, that are better than me, that I see, like the Rhiannons, the Shannons, like it just makes you better. Like, it just makes you be like, well, yeah, come on. If you're at the top of the pile, then there's nothing pushing you, is there? Like, they just make you better. So I think if you make your client better, then it's going to push you to be better, isn't it? You just, like you say, you've got to level up.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like burning the bridges, so you have to win the war. You're like, well, I don't have a choice now. I simply have to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm kind of interested to get into kind of around competing in bits and pieces, because obviously you compete, Josh competes a hell of a lot. How do you guys manage that? Obviously, you've got so many fucking commitments, and you guys have so many clients between you here and there doing everything. You've got your nursing stuff, you've got your training, you've got a child, it's all going on. How do you manage and maintain that? Because surely it's got to be a logistical nightmare.
Grandmas. What would we do without grandmas?
Yes.
Yeah, we have amazing family support. So yeah, for obviously the child. I mean, we try and go to as many client comps as possible. For me, obviously, it's been quite lucky in that the pathway that a lot of my clients choose to do is the pathway I do, so I'm there anyway. So that's helpful. I think, you can't expect yourself to go to every competition. You've got to prioritize, haven't you? Like, Josh has gone out to OSG this weekend to support his clients and my clients, so that that's how we've done that one. But yeah, it's busy, especially in summer. Like, it's just prioritizing it. I think going to competitions that you maybe feel like people would benefit from having you at the most. Like, there's some clients that are just really self-sufficient and really, they don't really need you there that much. Like, obviously it's nice, but some clients that haven't competed before, or they haven't competed at that level before, I think it's nice to go. But you can't do everything, can you? But I think, just trying to prioritize.
No, I think that's a fantastic talking point. Like, I think, and again, this is where the dynamic of being a coach and being a competitor kind of comes into, like, it runs into its own problems. Because of course, as a coach, you do want to be there for everyone, and you want to be there at all times. You want to be able to kind of not hold everyone's hands, but you want to be there to support them. You want to be able to give them 100%. But also, you then have to weigh up that value as an athlete of if I do that and I give all of that and I give all of myself and I have nothing for me, I'm only then going to deteriorate. I'm then not going to be able to perform at that level that I want to perform at, and that in itself is actually going to take an even bigger detrimental effect on me than if maybe I said, okay, out of these 10 comps, I'm going to be able to stretch myself to 6. And actually, if I start doing more than that, then I know it's going to affect me. It's such a fucking tough decision because, of course, we want to be there for everybody, but logistically, sometimes it is a nightmare. And like you said, like in summertime, you could be having 4 or 5 different competitions going on in the same weekend across the whole of the UK, and you're like, I'm good. I'm not good enough to clone myself. Okay, I cannot do that.
No, exactly. And I think like having the two of us is helpful because we're, like my clients will feel this weekend hopefully that if they need stuff they can ask Josh because we've come from the same page and on most things. Like if they feel they want to ask something, hopefully they'll feel they can ask him and that'll be helpful. And obviously can message me, but I think having that is super helpful. So one of us can go sometimes when the other one can't. Like obviously we're both really big fans of the sport, so going to watch competitions is never a chore.
Yeah.
It's always good fun, but yeah, trying to balance life. And I do think going and watching and being involved, I get what you're saying about it can take away from you as an athlete. Particularly if you're not having time to train because you're traveling around. But I think you do learn a lot. I think going to watch these comps and being like, oh, she's done that. That's what I would have done, but it's not worked. And it's, bits and bobs like that. Or, watching people that and you've seen them train and thinking, oh, she's trained like that and it's got her to do that. And I think as a coach and an athlete, that's helpful in some ways. Like I think you always learn something from a competition, whether you're watching or competing yourself. Like it's always there's always a lesson, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. I completely agree with that, and it's kind of, it gives you an opportunity to kind of analyze how different people are doing things, like you said, and go, well, actually, I haven't actually tried that before, or like that looks like a slight variation on what I'm doing, and then you go to do it, and you're like, oh shit, they're onto something there. And it can be something like so minute. I mean, so for myself, like I deadlift in a high belt position because of my torso, and I remember doing it at a competition. Someone was like, why do you do this? And I was like, well, just because of my spine length and how I deadlift, etc., etc. They were quite a tall person as well. They try it, I get a fucking DM like 2 days later, like, oh my god, this has changed everything. And you're like, do you know what I mean? It's like it could be the difference between you having your belt like 2 inches higher or 2 inches lower. Like it's so minute. Some things like just foot positioning. You're like, okay, instead of being at fucking like 11-1, I'm at like 12-10 or something, and you're like, oh, okay, that changes the dynamic of absolutely everything. It's like you're completely right. It's very, very interesting, and I think especially when you're you're going to be at these competitions like you are and your clients are, which are kind of like the higher competitions where you've got such experience and such fantastic athletes in there. You're like, yeah, of course you're going to get exposed to new cool things. Like, I think that's fantastic. So do you kind of have a game plan going into next year's season in regards to comps that you're already looking kind of to tick off? And is there anything that you're kind of thinking that you'll change coming into this season that you've done previously?
Yeah, so the European Arnold both managed to qualify for the American Arnold, so that's early March. So we're planning on going to Ohio to do that, which I just think will be an amazing experience. I've never been before.
Is that the amateur pros?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So that, yeah, I think that would just be an amazing experience. The events aren't released yet, so I don't know what the events will be like.
Okay.
For me, I qualified for OSG and decided, obviously with my back being the way it was, just to give myself a bit more time and do the Arnold instead of OSG.
Okay.
It was either or for me. Like, it's a big expense going to America, so I decided Arnold would be better. It gives me more time, and yeah, hopefully the events will be a bit better for me than OSG events were. You can't jerk a Viking press, so I wasn't a particular fan of that event. So hopefully there'll be an overhead I can split.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's will be my next comp. Unfortunately, the Northern qualifier, so the pathway for the British pathway, I need to
Mhm.
start again because obviously I missed England, so I need to start and do the Northern qualifier to get me to England, to get me to Brits, to blah blah blah. So that is the week after the Arnold. So
Oh,
it is looking busy.
bastard.
So, yeah, it's unfortunate because they're normally April, but I think the Fit Expo's moved. It's now in Manchester, isn't it? And it's earlier. It's in May, yeah, mid-May. So yeah, the qualifiers had to move
Yeah,
to,
because it was like June, July time this year, wasn't it?
yeah.
Oh,
So
fuck's
yeah,
sake.
it'll be
Oh.
back from Ohio straight down to chaos to the Northern qualifier. So that's just how it is. That, but the qualifier is it's fairly light. So it, and like we were saying before, it's events I'm familiar with. It's all pretty bog standard yoke, farmers log, I think Axel deadlift. It's nothing out of the ordinary. So
And you got to go and defend your title, obviously.
yeah,
You got to swat people off that belt. Yeah.
so yeah, going into that, so like after Christmas, the Arnold will be my big focus. Like obviously that's going to be heavy. It's going to be against some of the best girls in the world. Like that's going to be where my focus is at for that early part of next year. And then I'll go to North, with realistically the goal of qualifying for England, because I'm not going to have the time to really specifically peak for that comp. So hopefully I'll be able to go and qualify. And then I just want to give the UK pathway what I couldn't give it this year. I just want to do that whole process next year and just see where that gets me, because like the UK girls, the English girls, and the UK girls, they're like the best in the world. So if I was at OSG this weekend, the top girls they're English. Like so really, like the pathway in this country, they're the best in the world. So that's where I don't feel like I really need to go abroad to do that, because they're here. So yeah, I think going and doing that pathway and holding my own would be like a massive achievement, because the standard is just silly. So that's that'll hopefully take me through. If the pathway goes how I want it to go, then I won't really do that much else, because it's quite nicely spread. Then you have your training blocks in between each competition. So hopefully that'll keep me busy over the season, and then potentially OSG this time next year potentially. I've not done OSG yet, and I think it's like the pinnacle of weight class strongman, isn't it? And it's something that I really want to experience, but it's a big commitment, isn't it? It's like it's a lot. So yeah, we'll see how it goes in this country, and then I would like to do that at some point.
So is North's the last of the qualifiers then? Like, is there a reason why you're kind of forcing yourself into that week period of hitting the two comps and not going for like a Midlands or just going to a Southern?
We're all on the same day across the.
Are they?
Yeah, it's that weekend. Yeah. So they're
Because
all.
I didn't think that they used to be on the same day, because I thought different people. Because I would remember like people from the south would be like, "Oh, I'm going to do like the mids qualifiers," and I'd be like, "The fuck, what?" Like,
Yeah, because of dates. No, they did. Yeah, you're right. They did used to be, I think, on different weekends, but now I think because it's grown so much, and there's like chaos, obviously amazing for hosting in the north, and then there's good places mids and south to all host them, and I think they can be taken care of in their own right. So yeah, no, they're all on the same day.
oh, that sucks. Got to kind of fuck it. Oh.
Gone Midlands, but yeah, no, they're all on that
You're
weekend.
going to be living in an ice bath for a week.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's just going to be like traveling, isn't it? Getting back from Ohio.
Yeah, trying to get over the flight and then just feeling as fresh as you can. Obviously,
it's fine. Like we were saying before, it's a stepping stone to the season. So it's hopefully I'll be able to do enough post Arnold to just qualify for England, and then I'll have England as a main focus after that, ideally.
Hell yeah. No, I love that. I love that. That's absolutely awesome. Right. I like to kind of wrap up the podcast in the same way with absolutely everyone. I don't know if you've seen the question before, but I want you for a second to imagine that you are stepping into a time machine. And when you step into this time machine, you are taken back and the doors open and you are presented with your younger self, 10, 11, 12 years of age. Very, very formative years of your life. You're taking in lots of information, making decisions about who you want to be as a person, how you want to respond and react to the world around you. In those few moments that you have there with your younger self, what information do you impart to them? Do you give to them a mantra to live by, a way that they should live their life? What do you tell your younger self to kind of help them get through all of the trials and tribulations you know that they're about to face in their life, to help get them to the point that you are today?
Oh, that's really hard. So without thinking about it too long, I would say like everything's a phase. That's definitely something I feel like I've learned. Like everything passes, and not just with training, like with raising a child and all that stuff that's super challenging. Like I think everything passes, and it's possible to get through things and come out the other side. I've found with myself it's been easy to get really wrapped up in that phase and that time and it feels like it's forever, doesn't it, when you're in the midst of something, but it's not if you don't want it to be. That's fine. I think something that I was chatting to someone about this morning, which I wish I'd known at the start of my strong woman powerlifting, weightlifting career, maybe don't cut to a weight class like until you're really good, because I think it's easy to look at competitions and be like, oh, if I'm lighter, then this competition is going to be easier and I might win. And like, no, it just doesn't work like that. I think that would be one thing I would change in my lifting career, like just compete where you're at, get your experience, enjoy yourself, and then once you're thinking about going to a national level, then think about which weight class you want to be competitive in. But I think that's definitely something I did too soon, and something you see people do early on, which I don't think is beneficial really.
I think that is some seriously, seriously valuable information and a serious knowledge bomb that a lot of people should pay attention to. Mollie, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I would love to do it again at some point. I'm very excited to see where the next year takes you, where you are this time next year. I have all faith that you're going to go from strength to strength and just keep on smashing the shit out of this. It's been awesome to watch, and I'm excited for many, many, many more years of getting to experience it. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks so much.